Hi, Joe.
So one legend has passed on.
Thank you for that, Andy. By chance, do you know if he has anybody surviving that we could send a card to?
I don't. We could ask around at some of the Huntsville folks. I don't know off the top of my head though.
Okay, I have some good friends over at Huntsville, so I'll just maybe shoot off a couple texts or messages or something and find out. Thank
Also,
you.
James DeForest would probably know.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Chair's report. The current chair has a thing for red carabiners, so I'm gonna run away with Alex's stash, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Okay. Does anyone have a report to deliver on behalf of the cave-in chair? Going once, going twice. I'll take that as a no. Going right into remaining announcements. I can't.
Joe?
Huh? Roger?
Sorry, Roger.
Excellent to have you on the call.
Yep, I don't have a report per se. Just wanted to let you know that we're still cooking along, same as always.
I let the grotto know that. Thank you, sir. Glad to have you on the call. What in the world is that? Okay, going back into the announcements. I can't hold this back. I would appreciate it if all of you would join me in congratulating Mickey Manning for getting elected to the NSS Directorate.
Yes.
Represent Mickey.
Thanks, guys.
Way to
I
go.
appreciate it. Well, I'm looking forward to serving the membership. And what was that?
Chris Cummins? Chris, we can't hear you very well.
Oh. Either way, thank you guys so much. And I'm really looking forward to learning a lot over the next 3 years. And yeah, if anybody has any concerns or questions or comments, please reach out to me. I'm really accessible. So just know that I'm here.
Thanks again, Mickey. Okay, do the officers need to bring any old or new business up? Going once, going twice. Excellent. I love getting to the meat and potatoes. Mickey, would you introduce our presenter for the evening?
It would be my pleasure. For those of you that are new here, our presenter is Andy Zellner. He is our grotto librarian. He's also a very long time caver. He's been caving since college, and he's, I think, in his 50s now. So he's been caving a really long time. He's done lots of expeditions, tons of caving all over the United States. And he took a trip to Peru several years back. I think it's getting up on 10 years now. But the story behind it and the story of his travels are just incredible. So I'm really excited to let him show us. Thank you.
Thank you. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm going to attempt to, I don't use Zoom here very much. Let's see if I can just hit share screen, I guess. Let's see.
You should be able to.
Okay, let's try that. Can you see?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Let's see if I can go back and forth here. Okay, so Peru. Actually, I've been to Peru 5 times now for cave exploration. And this all started, I'll give you a little bit of background. And this is about a 30-minute slideshow, but this can be interactive. So if y'all have any questions, please, by all means, just jump right in, because I forget things sometimes too. So way back in the 90s, there was some Western US cavers that were kind of tired of going to Mexico. I mean, Mexico is great and everything, but they wanted to see what was further down the road. So they actually took a month off of life and traveled all over South America, including Peru, looking to see what they could find as far as caving areas, limestone areas. And they made their way eventually to the northern end of Peru. I don't know who else has been to Peru, like Cusco, kind of the Inca Trail, that sort of thing. That's all kind of in the southern end of the country, and the northern end doesn't get visited by gringos like us very much. But this is where they found a bunch of limestone, and they actually went there. There's these really large scale topo maps that don't have much detail, but even on these large scales, they could see these big sinking rivers, big sinking streams. So they made their way out there, weeks to get out there. And the locals said, well, there's no cave at that spot, but there's some holes up on the mountain if you want to go look at those. And they called them infernios, which basically means gateway to hell. To them, that's what these holes were. They didn't think that anybody would really want to go in them. They thought it was very strange. But, so they had a very limited rope with them, but they got down at 2 or 3 pits. This is up around like 14,000 feet elevation away from the mountains. And they decided they needed to come back. So a few years later, they looked for people who like to climb rope, and tag cavers are very well known for pit bouncing and climbing rope. So they recruited several of us, and I think there was 9 or 10 of us that went down there in 1999, my first trip. And I think on that first trip, we're up on the mountain for 3 weeks, and I climbed almost 7,000 feet of rope, and it was all virgin pits with no repeats. It was just pit after pit after pit after pit, some multi-drops, that sort of thing. So it was like kind of a pit bouncer's heaven, really. And I've been back 5 times since then, and this slideshow is going to be kind of a mix of pictures from all of those and the various people that came and went. So that's just the very basic background of what's going on here. But this is an area where organized cavers just simply hadn't ever been. Hardly anyone outside of the local people had ever been. Okay, any questions? And I know some of this is on your tiny cell phone, so I know you can't read this, so don't worry, I'll explain what's going on. But again, Cusco is down here. This is where you would fly in to visit the Inca Trail and Machu Picchu and everything. We took an extra hop, it's about a 7-hour flight down here, then one more up to this northern area. And this is basically the backside of the Amazon jungle basin. So the water that we're seeing flowing in these pits ends up in the Amazon River on the backside of the whole thing. So it's really the middle of nowhere. Most of these pictures are from 2010. See if I can remember everybody's names. This happened to be 9 guys. Females actually did come with us sometimes, but this one, it was a lot of potty humor because there's just 9 guys out here. David Cole was a tag caver. This is me, Andy. John Swartz still lives in tag. He's been caving as long as I have. Cody Plantine was another Georgia Tech fellow student. Lives out in Colorado now. Jeb Blakely, he's an Idaho caver. He's one of the guys that found this area. And if you ever heard of like Great X or Columbine Crawl or these really, really hard caves out in the Western United States, Jeb was the instigator and explored most of those. Mike Green, if any of you have ever bought anything recently from IMO or elevated climbing, this is the Mike Green of that organization. Brian Gimling, another Idaho caver. Tony Terrio, who is a DCG member. Haven't seen him for a little while, but he's around. And Carl, who's from like New Jersey, I think. But anyway, this was, I think to get to this area, it takes a long time. So these trips are like a minimum of a month, maybe 5 or 6 weeks if you can manage it, which is hard to do for a lot of people I know. But, so it kind of eats up your entire year's worth of vacation all at once. This is just packing. Again, it's around 14,000 feet of elevation. So we have kind of winter tents and everything. It's at the equator though, so it's actually not that cold. Even in like the caves themselves were probably around 50 degrees. So it wasn't really that bad, but toilet paper, of course, is the very, very first thing on my list everywhere I go. You never know if you're going to find more. This is flying down there. Some of these peaks, some of these, and this is the Andes Mountains. Some of them go up to what, 23,000 feet, I think, something like that, 25,000 feet. They're way up there. We're not going quite that high. We're going up to almost 16,000 feet, which is still gasping for air, but you got to fly over a lot of really cool stuff. And we finally got dropped into the town of Cajamarca. I don't know if anybody's heard of Cajamarca. This is where the conquistadors first met up with the Inca emperor Pizarro and whatnot. Now it's just kind of a quiet, dusty town, but each of us had about 120 pounds of gear. Because everything we take down, there are ropes, climbing gear, carabiners, bolting equipment, everything has to come on a plane, right? So some of this stuff is pretty heavy. And Mike, he had stuffed his bag so full that when it went through the security system, they opened it up to inspect it and they couldn't get it closed. So they actually, this is his helmet duct taped to the outside of the bag. And it actually made it all the way to the airport and everything. But I can hear the TSA guys cussing about that helmet. This is town of Cajamarca. This is around 9,000 feet elevation. So as we go, we're kind of flatlanders, so we have to get used to the elevation. It takes a while. But this is sort of the scenery of the area. It's kind of a mix of the old local people and Incas and Christian churches and stuff. And I actually find some of these things kind of creepy sometimes, but this is a church at night. This is what's kind of on the menu, and this is one of the fancier restaurants, which only costs like $4, I think. But I don't know if y'all can read this, but one of the things is half-fried guinea pig. You can just, guinea pig is cuy down there. It's a delicacy. So someone ordered a guinea pig, but you also have salted kidneys if you want. You have crunchy brains made to the Roman style, and we were afraid to order that, so I'm not sure what that was. But, this is a guinea pig. If you order cuy, you get the entire guinea pig, claws, feet, head, everything, and it wasn't much to chew on there, but that was the whole thing. When we got there, we actually bought a lot of our food at the local market, and this turkey was not long for this world, I think, but I think it's much cheaper. You can buy food, since all the stuff's going to be carried to the mountain on a mule anyway. You actually load it up on all kinds of potatoes and eggs and things. This is the actual, they call it the ransom room. This is where Atahualpa was the emperor, and when the Spaniards took him hostage, he said, "Yeah, I will fill this room to the top twice with silver and once with gold," and he did it. So that's a lot of silver and gold. Probably precious things that got melted down into just lumps of gold. Who knows what we lost when all that happened? But these are school kids going to learn about their history. There we're going to was actually called the Chachapoya culture, which is not really Inca, and they're all itty bitty people. And this is this is a little museum, but this was a child burial they found. So they kind of mummify all their burials, whatever. And that'll come into play a little bit later on here. This was some kind of a beer making or winery type thing. This is how they work on their power system, I guess. I don't know. But local color, and of course, the journey. Don't worry, we'll actually show some pictures of caves here in a minute. But the journey out there was like part of the whole event is actually getting to this place and coming back. So so you fly out there for a couple of days, and then we get crammed on this bus, which is it'll fit about 17 kindergartners, like itty bitty people, but 6 foot something gringos don't fit on here very well. But all of the gear gets put on top, so if it rains, it's just too bad your stuff gets wet. We get smushed in here for a 16-hour bus ride, and it's had a rough life. You can see they actually kind of stitched this together, like little sewing stitches, I guess. I don't know, but so we actually, that's a backpack that's wrapped in trash bags. It's put in another duffel bag. So this is just because it's going to get strapped to the side of a mule later on anyway. So everything is double or triple wrapped up. So getting loaded on top. That's Jim Smith came with us a few years, if you know Jim Smith. All right, so then you get on this bus, like I said, for the next 14, 15 hours, and it goes through the Marinon Valley, which is bigger and deeper than Grand Canyon. It starts around 9,000 feet, and you go up to 11,000 feet, then you go all the way down to 4,000 feet, then you go back up to 13,000 feet, and then down to 10,000 feet. So this is a lot of twisty turny roads, and as a crow flies, I don't think you travel more than 50 miles, but it's like 220 or something in the bus. Down at the bottom, you're following this it was an untamed river at the time through this kind of dry area, like this dry canyon. they're putting in 13 hydroelectric dams all up and down this river now. So it's going to bring a lot of money and influence to this region, but this valley is probably gone now. I doubt you can even see it anymore. It's probably flooded a lot of it, unfortunately. But there's cactus and stuff down there. So this is all one road, and this picture is taken from the same road. It's just zigs and zags and zigs and zags. I think someone said there's over 600 hairpin turns on this road. So you just got to get on it. And the driver knows exactly when to stop and hand out bark bags to everybody. And he just goes on about the business. It happens every time. We started seeing limestone. This is the road kind of cutting through a big limestone layer. We didn't actually see any caves around there, but we didn't have time to get out and look very much either. But this is just kind of on the way. We didn't take this road, but just to give you some scale, this little right here, this is a full size like dump truck. So this is coming down from kind of mine or something, but just the crazy roads up here, down cliffs. And these buses break down. So they travel in pairs usually. So one of the years we're out here, one bus had to tow the other one the last hour into town, I guess, but I was just swapping out a tire, I guess. And this is up at that 13,000 foot pass, which is high as you go. And this family got off the bus and they unloaded a bed, like the frame and the mattress and everything, and they strapped it to a mule, and they just kind of took off because that's as close as they could get. That's the closest the road came to their house. I don't know where they're going, but so they're heading off to whatever their little village is. The main community we're going to didn't even have a road until 1995, I think. You had to walk. And that town is called Bolivar. This is kind of a bird's eye view of it. It's about 2,000 people there. Again, this is the Chachapoya culture, and they're all very short people, but very nice. I thought their capes were really, really cool. I wish capes hadn't gone out of style. I think I would definitely rock one of these if I could get one. But this was our host, the people that have been keeping all our stuff. Each time we go down there, we have to take another whatever we can take on a plane, more ropes, more equipment, and they've been keeping it for us all these years. Very, very nice people. That's just sort of their inside of their little courtyard there. So Cody, he is like 6'2", but still, like, even his shoulders wouldn't fit through the doors. That's how short these people are. But, so the first thing we did there when you show up each year is we have to unstash all the ropes and stuff. We have like 6,000 feet of rope stashed down there, group tents, cooking equipment, figure out who left what last year and what disappeared. So we kind of do an inventory. That's Mike. Our longest rope was 1,000 feet long, and we used it. There's some deep pits up here. It's just the local kids, the tiny little tiendas. Everything costs $1 or one soul, I guess they have there. This was a clothing store / butcher shop. They just kind of drag the cow in there and go to town on them. Right there in the same shop. I don't know. But, this area is actually finally getting organized enough that they actually have this guy was sort of the local ranger, because all these valleys around here are just stuffed full of burials, human tombs up in the cliffs and everything. And they're trying to protect the area. They're trying to actually keep track of what goes on there. So David was our only Spanish speaker this year. So he's actually talking to kind of filling out a little bit of paperwork. And so each time we go, they get just a little bit more organized. Finally, so this town is around 10,000 feet, and you can't just jump up to 15,000 feet and stay there. So we actually got acclimated to some hikes out here in these big hanging valleys. This is all limestone, just as far as you can see. I know it's kind of hard to tell here. This is me. I'm standing right here, but this is actually a cliff burial. And it's like maybe it's been looted, but maybe not. You couldn't really get up to it very well. But this entire valley was just full of little cliff burials, and that's a better view of it. The local people seem to have kind of forgotten their past. Like they can't tell us much about these people, or they find skeletons or something or mummies, they'll just try to sell them, which is kind of sad that they don't remember this, if it's their own people or not. But this was exciting from a caver or geology perspective. There's a gigantic, what do you call that? Anticline, syncline? I forget, but it's a big crack over here in these big 1,000-foot tall limestone cliffs, and we haven't even made it out here yet. We looked at it, but we haven't even gone out there to see what's out there yet. So there's lots more to do. And finally, don't worry, we'll get up on some pits here in a second, but we're just trying to make a plan for what's going on, what our objectives are for this time. And this is sort of an overview topo map. As all we had at the time, there's better ones now, but each of these was a 1 kilometer. And this is like a big hanging valley with big glacial lakes in them still, because there used to be glaciers here. So this was about maybe a 7 or 8 kilometer journey out here to get to our main camp. And then these red dots are all the pits and caves that we had found up to that point, just hundreds and hundreds of them. You can't walk around at night without falling into a pit. So, and somehow Jeb managed to raid the main Lima geology department and actually get some geologic maps. And this blue right here is supposed to be the limestone, and it actually matches up very, very well with where all these pits and stuff are. Then it kind of changes down here. So we're using these to kind of get an idea of where we should go look for the next deepest thing. This is a really 10-year-old Google Maps view of it. This peak right here is about 16,000 feet, so it goes up pretty high. It's all limestone. See some pictures of that later on. All right, so we've been there for 3 or 4 days. We got our food and fuel, got acclimated. This is a mule day. So all our stuff gets loaded in bags and stuff and strapped to the back of the mule. And it took, I think, like 25 or 30 mules to carry everything up there. But this is Jaime. He's sort of the mule skinner, and he kind of keeps things organized every year. We paid $6 per day per mule. And we were told that was like the 3 times the normal price for that was the gringo price, but we didn't care. That's a great price for us. And these guys are very reliable. Like, you know, they'll come back and get you on the day they said they would. So, and for a few extra dollars, you can ride a mule up there. The first couple from here, you have to hike up 4,000 vertical feet to get to, you know, to the camp. So might as well ride a mule. So this is all our stuff strapped to there. And somewhere in here, there's actually 144 fresh eggs. I don't see the box, but they actually got all the eggs up there. They did not break a single egg. So they know their stuff. They know how to pack things. And the young whippersnappers decided to hike up there, take a bunch of pictures and stuff. But kind of go up to this like eucalyptus forest at first. And eucalyptus is not local to South America. It's an Australian thing, but it grows very well here. So the locals plant it so it grows fast and used for things. So now we're just climbing up and up and up this trail. That's the town below. And even the town is on a huge cliff over here, but you finally get up into these other limestone cliff bands, and there's more burials in here, more little cliff burials as we go. And you finally start seeing pits, infernios. This is why we came. And the locals are very confused because they're like, why are you coming all this way with all this fancy equipment, expensive looking stuff? You must be looking for gold or something. Like, they really don't understand why we just want to look at holes in the ground. And it's kind of weird, right? So we actually brought some maps and stuff, and we presented, you know, showed them about the NSS, and we said, we really do this just for fun, for exploration. We're not trying to find anything. And this one dude took me aside, and he had this cardboard box, and it had like half of a withered mummy skeleton in it with like the arm dangling out the side, and he wanted to sell it to me. And I'm like, please just put that back wherever you found it. You know, we don't want to get mixed into those right now. But anyway, all along the trails are these giant pits. And this is just a few more. This is a very, very clear day. Weather wasn't all that good all the time, but these are like big rock cairns from time immemorial. I mean, people have been using this trail into the Amazon basin for thousands of years. So big markers. These are some cliffs that we haven't even got to, I don't think. So this entrance is probably 200 feet across. I don't know. It's just a big cliff band. So we're looking down into these huge places to go that we just haven't even got to yet. This is our main camp. This was Lago de Yunan, and it's actually about 4,000 feet lower right here, but this is a pretty big lake, and there's some springs that feed into it. So all around the sides and stuff over here is where the pits and stuff are. And the mule skinners, they get us down to one little water hole and drop us off, and they promised to come back 3 weeks on a Thursday at 2 p.m. And sure enough, they did right on the dot to pull us out of a snowstorm. But okay, so I know this might be kind of not a full size picture, but this is our tents. Can you see our tents down here? This is like a little camp because this is our only water hole, and all these black dots are pits or cave entrances. There might be 10 feet deep, there might be 1,000 feet deep, but there's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things to look at out here. No trees because we're above the tree line, but they do actually graze cattle out here. There's sheep and cows. That's why there's this big burn mark, is because the local shepherds, they'll set the whole place on fire. So the old stuff burns off and green shoots come up. So the cows have something better to graze on. And they just about burned our camp down a couple times, but that's their land, I guess. That's kind of an overview. We each had individual tents and then our kind of a group tent. And this is our only water source. There is no flowing water at all. It just goes right underground. So you have to share it with the cows and the horses. So we drank out of that puddle for 3 weeks, I guess. But we did actually filter the water through. So we fill up these jugs and put a ton of bleach in it and run it through these charcoal filters to kind of get the bleach taste out. And hopefully what it emerges down here drips through very slowly, something you can drink. So we kind of keep these running for 8 or 9 people. And then you just kind of wander off and there's these gigantic pits. Over the years, I think we've explored and documented, I think about 200 of them, but this is like, just a very short walk away from camp. I forget what this one was called, but this is Jurassic age limestone. So it's younger than the stuff that we're familiar with in Tag area. This is sort of like a little spongy fossil, I guess. I don't know. And it looked like this is kind of the original vegetation. That's all been kind of grazed down on the top by cows and stuff now. But when you get into the pits, the sides of them are just this really bizarre looking moss and sticker bushes and other things that it just must have been amazing to see when this was still all first being, before it had been grazed and everything. This is a kind of a chinchilla. I'm not sure what it's actually called. It's sort of like a rabbit, but it had a longer tail. Is a rabbit with a tail? I don't know. But they kind of live all over. This varmints live all over the rocks and stuff. For most of the years, we didn't have any battery powered drills or anything, so we had to hand drill everything. This is John hammering on a rock, and sometimes finding a rock to hammer to put an anchor in was the challenge. Sometimes there's nothing for a long ways away. I think our record was like 150 feet away for the rig point. I don't know. And then you just kind of wander at night. This is dangerous. Like you could fall down. This is a 150-foot pit that Tony found. So we kind of rigged to a couple of rocks, but they're just kind of hiding in the grass. You can't even see that one. He's peering down something. But we had to rig to this anchor over here just to get down the pit. I think this was what's that instrument called? Mike Green decided to bring it. It's not a violin. It's sort of this thing. What is this called?
Is that a steel guitar or maybe a mandolin?
Mandolin. Yes, thank you. So against our advice, he decided to bring a mandolin with him in his check luggage all the way to Peru, and it didn't make it. It broke before he even got it to camp, but he felt bad for it. So he found this beautiful 300-foot pit, and he left it down there. And this is going to confuse the hell out of some archaeologists years from now. They find this mandolin laying in the bottom of a 300-foot pit, but there it is.
That's awesome.
Yeah. This is just kind of looking down where we could see these huge, beautiful alpine lakes below us, but they're 2,000 feet lower, and they're not really in the limestone area. So we couldn't really make use of these for a nice camp. But it's so nice to look at down there. And beyond this is just more mountain ranges that we just haven't even got to yet. It just goes and goes and goes. And all these valleys end up, if you travel out there 2 or 3 days, you come out to the Amazon jungle. And the locals, that's where the bad people are. That's where I think that's where their coca leaves are being grown. But they said, don't go down there. You don't go down there. We're not sure where all the water goes that flows in these pits. There's not any big springs or anything. So a lot of inside entrances. A lot of these are choked with gravel at the bottom. So if we can find one that goes into the rock, better chances that it might go into an actual cave or something. This Jeb hanging it out on something. I don't know. If we found a water pool, we marked it very carefully because we're afraid our puddle full of sheep shit was going to dry up, and we have to go into the pits to find water. Can't find anything else. This is the bottom of the pit's only about 10 to 15 feet wide, and it's over 500 feet deep. It's just a literal rifle barrel shaft going straight down.
Wow.
And then beyond that, it goes down a couple more drops. But I forgot who took this. Someone had a black light. So these are like some little bird bones or something. So they're kind of messing around, but you can get some cool features with a UV light, I guess it's called. I don't know. And these are some pieces of flowstone that also kind of fluoresce under the right kind of light. Just playing around a little bit. Most of what we had down there, since we're tag cavers, we do everything the hard way, and most of it was 11 mil rope. So that's, imagine Ridge walking around at 14,000 feet, carrying a 600-foot rope, because anything shorter wasn't much use. So it was kind of killing us. So I think in the last couple of years, they started taking some 9 mil rope down there and a lot more drilling. But David was stout, so he was hauling around that day. This was a day, we kind of broke into different groups, like, so 2 people would go out and bounce a few pits and record it, map it. We got out here and there was a 150-foot pit and a 250-foot pit right next to each other. And we couldn't decide which one to do first. So between me and David, we actually tied the rope to a big rock in the middle, and we are doing 2 version pits at the exact same time. I went down to 150, he went down to 250.
Who receives a painful letter, and you can probably guess his first name. Elaine. What is Dear John? Any other day for 200. The Tales of Melpomene by Antosha.
Hold on, I'm gonna try and fix that.
Okay. I'll keep going. So this is just a little bit of life around camp here. We had this one group tent that held up many years. It got flattened by a storm eventually, but in the morning it would barely fit 9 people in there. So this is us kind of swapping stories from the night before and make some breakfast. Kind of austere place, but this is 144 eggs back here. We actually had big cans of food. Weight wasn't a problem, so we actually ate pretty well. And this is our stove. Everything got cooked on a little propane stove. We even hauled the mules hauled up a big old 10 gallon thing of propane, I guess. So that was a new addition. And each day as we went out, we kind of, it's basically like tag ridge walking and pit bouncing, on a super scale, but one person got to stay in camp, and that was his day to relax, do dishes, and just kind of look after camp that day. So this is Cody's dish doing day. But also that way, if any strangers came wandering through the camp, he could talk to them, or at least let them know that we were there. And the kids would just run up 7 miles from camp, just out there just to see what we're doing and ask us for cookies and things. And they play a little tune on their flute and they run back down again. They were just full of energy. Like they would pick up a 300-foot rope and just run up the hill. So we put them to work. Mike tried to do some good photography here. I'm not much of a photographer, but between him and Tony, we got a few good pictures. This was another 300-foot pit. They're just everywhere. That's going on down. And he actually got tripods and lights and things, big, these are like kind of like a work lamp, I guess, like in your garage or whatever. And he was using that for flashes. And this actually, if you want to read up on some of this, there was an NSS News article, like 2011 or 12, I guess. This was the cover of it. This little bright light is a caver's helmet or caver's headlamps. This is a nice big 300-foot entrance pit. Kind of hard to light these up with just a few people. We surveyed everything that we found, which is a lot. And a lot of times these pits just go down to rubble. It's just, there's so much free stock going on that, and also the Andes mountains are lifting up pretty quickly, so it doesn't get a chance to make these nice long caves you'd see in Tag with big flowing streams and stuff. It just all just goes right, down these big cracks. So not a whole lot of horizontal development, but there's a few crawls, a few little multi-drops. This is Carl kind of surveying, like, I think this was like a 600-foot deep multi-drop that we explored. Just very basic notes. Some of y'all have surveyed before. This is kind of just the very basics. This is before there were distos. Everything was tape and compass and everything. One problem we had is that, this is kind of our little narrative file, so we kind of keep track of everything. We're finding pits. The deepest pit we found was about 850 feet deep. And I say about because our longest tape measure was only 100 feet long. So we had to sort of do it piece by piece, and you can only get so close to that. This was one of the very few horizontal caves that we actually did find, and it's all very dry now. It looks like it had a wetter time. A lot of formations grew in it, but it went maybe half a kilometer, and that was it. It just kind of ran back into the hillside. So not a lot of horizontal caves there. This was a pit, is right next to a trail. We call it South America pit because from the bottom it looks like this is like a 270-foot pit, but the silhouette looks like South America too. So we call it South America. And I think since it was by the trail, a lot of critters fell into it. This is some kind of antelope. Another one, we actually found a huge, some kind of big cat skeleton, like a jaguar skeleton, and people. And these weren't stacked up. I think Brian, generally we don't really mess with human remains, but I think he stacked them up just for the picture. But all three of these skeletons were at the bottom of the pit. They probably weren't actual burials as much as someone that just fell in, but it's kind of hard to tell. This actually was a burial, and I know you can't see very well in this picture, but this is the bottom of a 120-foot pit. There's actually little bits of ornaments, kind of some stone amulets and things, and just the way that the bones are kind of stacked up, we think it was wrapped up in something, and the wrapping is gone, but now it's just the skeleton left. So like this right here was like a big piece of a conch shell, which had to be traded up from a seaport somewhere. There's another conch shell right here. So we just leave them alone. We photograph them, and then we pass this information on to other archaeologists that might be interested in the area. But there were several human burials for sure, and some accidental remains as well. That's Jason Record looking over. This is another ridge we haven't even gotten to yet. Look at all these holes. I mean, there's no telling these big ridges and stuff. I mean, this is like 2,000 vertical feet from top to bottom. We haven't even been over there yet. There's lots to do. Rainbow. That was another backup water source. Might not be there anymore, hard to say. And finally, towards the end of this trip, we're there, like I said, about 3 weeks up on the mountain. Mike and Jason had found a spring entrance, which is very strange down there. There's down the bottom valley. So they were going to go hike and camp in this spring cave for a couple of days. So they headed off, packed up for like a kind of stage 2 camp, I guess. So we didn't see him for a couple of days. Meanwhile, these other three, they had found a 500-foot deep multi-drop that was still going down, had a beautiful 400-foot entrance pit. So they were gearing up for whatever comes next, just a long trip. So they wandered off. I was in camp that day, and they came back like 4 o'clock in the morning, just beat down. But this is the entrance pit. It's a big, I think it's like 390 or something like that. But this is only like half a mile from camp, and we hadn't even noticed it was there until this year. But that's them kind of flow stony on the inside. There's not a lot of water in these things, but everything's kind of tilted. These are all cave pearls, little cave pearls, little pool. But again, they surveyed and documented everything. So this is when they staggered back to camp. I had some dinner waiting for them, or breakfast, I guess, but they were just beat, but happy because they had a big adventure. Meanwhile, these two guys were at the bottom of the valley, a couple of thousand feet lower, where they can actually breathe, and found this big spring cave, which went in for at least half a mile, maybe more. I don't remember what they actually called it, but this nice big walking passage, and it finally got to some deep water they didn't want to go in, but you see kind of a high water here, and it had a lot of air blowing out of it. And they went back a few years later and actually found a 1,000-foot deep multi-drop above this that never quite tied in, but I think they call it grado de asphyxia because they couldn't breathe. You know, anytime you try to climb rope, you climb like 10 feet, then you have to just sit there gasping for air because there is no air. So hopefully we'll tie this in. We'll have a 2,000-foot deep multi-drop cave that will come out in this spring cave down here sometime. That was their little mini camp. Stars are beautiful. This looks like a water fountain. This is actually stars. This is maybe like a 60-second exposure, I guess, but that's the Milky Way, kind of over camp at night. The nearest town of any size is a couple hundred miles away. That was kind of looking over the valley on really starry night.
Wow.
Frosty mornings. It didn't get that cold. It went down into the 20s maybe, but that was about it. Even at 14,000 feet, it just only was like 5 degrees south of the equator, so it just didn't get that cold, which was fine with me. And it would warm up during the day and get kind of windy. And these are just a few more pits. This is like 100 yards from camp. This is right there. I'm telling you. Take a few more pictures. And this is our water source. After drinking out of it for 3 weeks, it was just about dry. That's all we could get out of it. So it was time to go. These are wild horses. I guess they owned by somebody, but they just kind of do their own thing. They're wandering around. I guess the shepherd looks after them sometimes, but they'll come down at night and wonder what we're doing. And it was time to de-rig everything. This is me and Mike. We just did, this is like an 850-foot deep multi-drop. I think he called it wishing well. Started with a big old 300-foot entrance pit. So again, this is all 11mm rope. It's getting kind of beat up. So if we go back, we're probably going to bring some 9mm just because it's so heavy lugging this stuff around. That's a 700-foot rope that got used a lot. And we tried to leave the camp pretty clean. We burned what we could, kind of buried it right behind them. So the camp is only like 100 feet away from here. There's a pit over here. It's 200 feet deep, and it's got human skeletons at the bottom of it. They're just everywhere, just right next to camp. And right on time, right when we asked them to, here comes the mule scanner with all the mules we asked for to pull us out. They'll rain, sleet, snow, or shine, they'll show up because we're good money for them. We're definitely pay up. And then on the way back, a few of us wanted to go to the very, very top of that, almost 16,000 foot peak. It's like 15.6 or something, I don't know, but it's limestone up to the very, very top. So we got up there in a kind of a cloud bank. It's maybe dolomite, a little bit different limestone, but it looks like Mordor to me, up here on the very, very top. But
yeah.
So that was 15.4, and this is the highest pit I've ever been in. There's actually a pit up there. It's like a 80-foot pit that's over 15,000 feet. That's the highest cave we actually went in. There are limestone in other areas that go up to 18,000 feet, but this wasn't this particular area. And that's just looking back down that valley again. There's condors, big old condors flying around. I actually laid down and pretend I was dead for a while, and it flew down to check me out. I thought it was pretty cool. But it flew off. And then finally you get hours later, we get the mules back down the bottom, and they're just exhausted. I feel kind of bad for them. That's a long, hard working day for a mule to go up and get all our stuff and come back down again. But that's just the only way to get around. There's no vehicles or anything. And as a tip to our mule scanner, we gave him pieces of PMI rope. That was like the best. That was like worth his weight in gold because it's so much better than anything they have down there. So that's what he wanted to be paid in, mostly was PMI rope. We gave him some worn out pieces. And then you got to do the whole thing in reverse, pack everything up and get it all the way back to the United States. And that's the last picture. That was our home for quite a few trips now.
Bravo. Awesome, man.
Any questions or anything?
Hey, Andy, I have a question.
Yeah.
So that picture where you said that that was like the highest elevation pit you had been to.
Yeah.
And it was like 80 feet. It looked like, there was like no trees around. What's the rigging like for that?
A few times we rigged to each other. Like I would just kind of get myself down in a crack, and then someone would rig off my hang off my harness, and they would rappel down a pit just to see where it went. Other times we would try to get a bolt or two and some rock, but the rock was pretty crappy. Or like I said, sometimes you had to tie it to something that was 100 feet away. I mean, just that's all there was. Or sometimes we actually had to dig down through the grass, find a rock, put a bolt in that hope would hold, and then back up to your friend. That's all there was really.
How was that guinea pig?
Wasn't that good? There's not much to a rodent really, but we had to try it just once. I was afraid to try the crunchy brains in the Roman style. I don't know what that was.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
What other questions?
And most of our stuff is still down there. The last trip was in 2014, so it's been 8 years now. But every time we try to get momentum back up for another trip down there, it sort of falls through for various reasons. So if anybody wants to go, I can tell you right where there's a whole stash of rope and everything. We can give you leads and a bunch more pits to do. It's probably easier to get to now than it used to be. I don't know, but we communicate with the family down there through Facebook, so we can talk to them.
What a wild adventure. Awesome story, Andy. Thank you so much.
Great.
Yeah.
We were actually supposed to go to Peru on the coast, Trujillo. I don't know how far it is from Bolivar. Yeah, but it's on the northern coast. But
That's right. Yeah.
we couldn't go this year.
Okay.
It wasn't going to work out with Peru. They weren't ready to host us.
Yeah. I've heard if you're on the coast, you can see that the Nazca lines.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fly over the plane. That's supposed to be really neat. I haven't had a chance to do
Yeah.
that.
I was looking forward to it, and then maybe going to Machu Picchu after the trip. But, oh well.
Beautiful place. There's still maybe next year.
Well, that was quite an adventure for y'all.
Yep.
Wow, that was outstanding. Thank you so much. Any other questions for Andy? Going once?
Would you go again?
I would, except maybe to not quite as high of elevation. Because
Yeah.
the older you get, the harder it is to deal with all that. What we need is young whippersnappers. We need people.
Well, supposedly there's a drink that people give you when you're going to Machu Picchu, and I didn't ask too many questions, but
Yes.
I imagine it's like cocoa or coca or
That's
something
exactly
like
That's exactly what it is. So they just give you some actual cocoa leaves and say you shoot the actual leaves, and that helps. But when you're jumping from 10,000 feet all the way up to 14,000 in one night and then staying there, it's just too much. So a lot of us got headaches. You just sort of deal with it. But we did find a camp that's around 12,000 feet, so it's just a little bit lower. But it means you have to hike up each morning. You got to go 1,000 feet to get to where the caves are.
That's a hike.
But, I imagine at some point, if the Europeans don't rediscover this area, I imagine somebody will go back. A few people have asked me about it, so we can tell you right where it is.
So cool, Andy. Thank you again for sharing. Well done. Great job.
Although it wasn't too long.
No, it could have been longer.
Okay.
It was great.
Okay, so thanks again, Andy Zellner. Awesome presentation. And now it's bragging rights time. Who went caving? I know somebody went caving.
Well, I went caving very briefly. Colorado and Utah are not really known for, it's not quite a caving destination, but we're out riding mountain bikes just a few miles from here, and we came to this cave in the wall. It was only a couple 100 feet long, but you can do a through trip. You can actually ride a mountain bike right through the cave.
On a bike?
Yeah, and it was a dirt cave. It was made completely out of dirt. There's just this natural tube. There was hardly any rock in it, but it was pretty sturdy. So all the caving I've done for a while.
That sounds like fun, especially on a bike. Huh. Right on. Who else went caving?
I went caving. Oh,
Go for it, Alex.
okay, I'll go first. Okay, so me and Mateo and a bunch of people were at the Carson's party last year, and we were talking with Brad Long about caves and all that stuff, and he told us about a pit, Briar Patch number 1 or 2. They're all messed up, and he said, "Oh, we were there and blasting on it." And he's like, "Well, you guys should go out and check it out sometime." So Mateo and I went there, and we went and took blasting gear and blasted on a parallel pit there, and got into a virgin 60-foot pit. It was midway down, so it didn't really make the cave deeper, but it got to the drainage system, and we crawled for a little bit and said, it's too much of a crawl. So, but we went and did stuff and found some cave, which is cool.
Right.
All I was gonna say is that Mickey and I and Andy and Beth, they were kind enough to let us adventure with us out in Utah, and we didn't do any caving, but we did some canyoneering. And to the best of my experience, canyoneering is like caving, except it's drier, sandier, and above ground. So it was pretty close, pretty spectacular, just spectacular landscape out there. Those canyons are badass. If any of you guys ever get a chance to do it, I would highly recommend it, especially to the vertical cavers, because you're just going to love it.
Y'all's
Some of,
pic- amazing.
some of this was at the end of a 60-mile dirt road, so you have to. It's a little bit committing to get out there, but we had the right vehicles, and yeah, that was a blast.
Incredible. Thanks again, Andy.
All right. Who else went on adventures?
Joe, I went caving.
Of course you did.
I was asked to help survey a cave, and the cave was really nice, and that was all great. But the people had been in the cave before; it wasn't some new find. But while surveying, we did go up into sort of an upper level room that was virgin and super highly decorated. And so I don't know how many groups have been through this cave, but enough where someone should have gone in there. But they were trying to go to the end of the cave, so they kind of skipped out on this little spot. But yeah, I got some sweet virgin passage because we were surveying, and you got to do everything. So we were highly rewarded for it with some nice formations.
Dane, it wasn't the same survey you're currently working on, right? Different one?
Different one.
Gotcha. Cool.
I also did that cave too.
Yeah, I figured.
That virgin passage was much more hard fought for, but all the hard work was from Alex and Mateo.
Hey, last trip you said coming up. I don't believe it, but we'll see.
Oh, it should be. I've already scooped all that, and it's on the old map. So
Nice. Joe, I went to Blunder Hole on Friday. That was my first time going to that cave. It was so much fun. It wasn't very wet, which was kind of a letdown, but it's okay.
You just did Blunder, not Thunder?
I've done Thunder Hole too, but hey, I could do both in one day.
You need to do Plunder as well. Plunder is
Plunder?
pretty terrible.
take us to Plunder. Take us there.
I've been there. I can take you there.
I want to go.
That just sounds, God, it sounds karsty. I'm jealous. I'll say that. Unbelievable. What is it with you hydrophiles, though? It wasn't dripping. It wasn't torrenting. I'm so disappointed. Okay, outburst over with. Anyone else go caving?
I went cave diving in a spring in Alabama that isn't turned in, and that I'm not going to say a lot about, but by far the best cave diving conditions that I've ever seen north of Florida, and going passage and going back soon to push a tight restriction and see if we get a big cave out of it.
Awesome.
Ian, is that the one you just posted a picture of the other day and said you don't go there? You don't go to that certain spot that you posted a picture of?
Yeah, it was on my Instagram. Yeah, it's like not where you would expect the cave to be. Or like
Cool.
it's by far the biggest thing anywhere near it.
I have special respect for cave divers. That's a level of nuts that I just can't. I haven't gotten there yet.
Hey, Joe, your nuts.
Anna, you kind of cut out there.
I said you're nuts too.
I reckon I am. I appreciate that. I am very nuts. Any other adventure stories? Going once, going twice. All right,
I got one.
let's hear it.
I'm Stephanie. I'm new to the grotto. I am moving up to Tag from the Tampa Bay area grotto in South Florida. My last cave was a cavern diving trip to a Florida spring. Second cavern diving trip ever, first trip that I got to lead. We had 12 divers going down. And I understand why cave divers cave dive, but I'm not there yet either.
Welcome.
So Stephanie, you said you're a new member. Would this then be your introductory meeting?
Would be my introductory meeting.
I am so glad you piped up, and we're happy to meet you.
Yeah, do we have a Joe?
Say again?
Did you do a new member's introduction?
I was about to segue into that.
Okay, welcome, Steph.
Okay, so Stephanie was the first, but who else is new to the grotto? This is part of completing your application process for membership in the grotto. We get to meet you, so step right up.
Hey, this is Ray. I'm also new to grotto.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Andy.
What was your name?
Ray.
Ray? Wait a second, I've seen a Ray recently. Ray Bensall?
Yep.
Right on. I think you and I were actually emailing back and forth.
I know, yeah.
So where you been caving, man?
I've never caved before.
Ooh, this is awesome.
I'm a newbie.
He's never caved before.
But I do like outdoors and hiking and stuff. So as a kid, we went to mountains. I lived in plains back home in India, but whenever we went to the mountains, I'll go for a hike. Moving here, life and kids, it takes, I was away from pretty much all the activities. And then COVID hit, and last 1 year, we have started going out, and caving was one of the things on my list. So I guess there's a lot for me to learn and see what the best practices are. So I just don't know anything, but I do know that this is something that me and my family will enjoy. Or we will.
Awesome. Can't wait to go caving with you, Ray.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Joe.
Who else have we got?
So, there's Jennifer Young and Chris Lee on the line. We do some climbing, and we had a little taste of canyoneering out west in Zion, and so we're interested in doing some caving out here in the southeast. We're based out of Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia, outstanding. Well, you picked flat out the best club to start with, so welcome.
Yeah,
that's what I heard. So
yeah.
The Tag area is not really well known for canyons. I mean, there's underground canyons, of course, pull-down trips, but we're determined to find whatever the best the Tag has to offer as far as canyoneering goes. So we're kind of scouting out a bunch of waterfalls and stuff. So maybe later on this summer we can go back and do some first descents around here, I think.
Yeah. Sounds great. We'd be interested.
And I have been caving before, but it's been years and years and years.
Yes.
Yeah.
It'll come back.
Joe, Alex had his hand raised.
Alex.
That'd be me.
Yeah.
Let's hear it, Alex.
Hey, so hi. I kind of just found out about the group and everything, so I'm new to join, but I'm a geologist, and so kind of fits right in. Andy was showing some of those images of like fossils earlier. I was like, I totally dig that. Like that's my whole bag. So I got all excited when he was naming those structures and some of those fossils there. And I have limited experience. I mean, we used to lead so I teach geology. So when I taught down in Florida, we'd lead students into some a couple dry caves up in it's kind of north central Florida. And and then up here, I haven't done any recently in the last few years. Prior to that, I had just done some up in like Johnson City, Boone area. So that's kind of my only experience, but I'm always happy to try something new.
Outstanding. So you said you teach geology. Are you a professor of geology?
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, so I figure it's right up my alley.
I'd love to hear about some of the Johnson City caves too. My family, we grew up in Marion, Virginia, and my mom's in Bristol, which is very close to Johnson City there. And we recently, a couple months ago, went to a town called Lebanon, kind of like west of Abingdon, and hit Cyclops, and had a great experience there. 2 days, 2 different groups, and it was wild and crazy.
Nice, cool. Yeah, I don't know. I think that it's been years since I've done anything up there, and I think the one we used to go to a lot was Worley's Cave. I think that was it.
Worley's.
Sure, yeah, is pretty well known. So,
okay,
but
cool.
that's basically it. Limited experience on my end.
Remember, Andy, that lady that we ran into at Backbone Rock? She mentioned Worley's too.
Yeah.
Thanks. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you all.
Yeah, I've been on a few meetings, but I recently signed up for the grotto.
Let's see, Scott Wilder, isn't it?
Yeah.
Excellent. Cool. So you said you've been on a couple trips recently?
Yeah, recently, yeah, I was actually on the GSS survey trip training thing last weekend. So
I remember seeing you, come to think of it. I knew you looked familiar.
Yeah.
Right on.
How did the whole GSS meeting go? Give us a 60-second report on it.
How do I describe this? It went well. We went over business. I will say though that really the big feature presentation was a survey camp at Howard's Waterfall Cave. Clint and the team took a bunch of people into Howard's Waterfall, and they were going over the equipment. How do you use this brick in order to take measurements? Measuring from wall to wall, displays, and that sort of thing. So it wasn't just a dry meeting; it was hands-on, hands in the mud. Well, actually, you don't want to get your hands in the mud when you're surveying, but it was real. Is what it was. It was real. So. And me and Jeff Harris got to hang out with Marion O. Smith, and I hadn't even spoken that much with Marion before, so that was just an extraordinary privilege for me. Okay, do we have any other new members to welcome?
Hey,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, I'm Emily Harrison. Yeah. I'm also a newbie to caving, but I've always had like an interest in rock climbing, so I decided why not go, so I'm gonna try caving. So
outstanding.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, that's how I got started.
Well, we're glad you joined up, Emily, and we're glad to see you during the meeting, and can't wait to go on the beginner's trip with you. And there was another person that was about to speak up.
I'm Rustin Sweeney, and this is my son Taylor and my other son Caden. And we live in Minton, Alabama. We moved up here about 2 years ago. We keep hearing about caving, but we've never done it.
Outstanding. Board.
If you're in Mentone, there's probably one underneath your house. That's kind of the center of a lot of them.
And you have DeSoto, which is an awesome cliff to rappel. I just did it Sunday, and It's awesome. When you're vertical, of course.
This is where I have a quick question. So what's a good age for kids to be part of this caving journey, I guess?
When they're tall enough.
So one thing to bear in mind is that whenever you go caving, for example, you really, if nothing else, you've got to wear a caving helmet. So their heads have got to be big enough for a caving helmet. And yes, there are children's caving helmets out there, for example, but that's one consideration. Beyond that, I'm sure everyone on the call would have a lot to say about it. There are lots of different opinions about how old children should get to be to before you take them caving. I've heard some people say 8 years old, for example, but I know they've gone even younger than that.
Oh, well, mine are much older than that. Little, not much, but a little older than that. So I got a 10 and 13, and then I think they would perfectly fit to this group.
That's excellent. Okay, and so since we're on this topic, I'll say that the Grotto maintains 2 sets of rental helmets and headlamps, and both sets each have a handful of children's helmets for that matter. So in case you're really brand new to the sport and you don't really have anything, we can definitely make recommendations as to what you should pick up in order to go caving. And we can also help you out with the helmets and the headlamps so that you protect your noggin and so that you can see while you're inside the cave.
I appreciate that. Yep, definitely. Those recommendations and rentals would help. And we just don't have anything. We are beginners, right? So
we all started from nothing.
Yeah, I understand that, right? It's a process. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, everyone.
Do we have any other new members to welcome tonight?
Yeah, I'm a new member. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Jeff. I've been caving since 1994, so quite a while. I was pretty active for 10, 12 years, and then less active for a few years, and then I haven't been in a cave probably 6 or 7 years, but looking to get back into it. So I've done lots of the tag classics, SCCI member, NSS member, all of that. So
excellent. Who did you go caving with before?
So there's a guy named Raiden Leslie who he passed away a few years ago, but he was pretty well known tag caver back in the 90s and 80s. Chris Alassa, I think, was a Dogwood City Grotto member for a while. Some other people.
Cool. Did you hang out with any other grottos?
No, I've been to a couple of the Dogwood City Grotto meetings. This was many years ago. I never joined, but yeah, this is the only grotto I've ever been to.
Cool. Well,
but I've been to many tag fall cave-ins back in the 90s and early 2000s, Sarah, all of that good stuff. So
you've been around.
Yeah, a little bit.
Right on. Glad to meet you, sir.
Yep.
Who else do we have that's new? Going once, going twice. Okay, I think we've met everybody. And another thing I need to go over real fast before moving on to the Cavers Code. Don't forget to join the NSS. It's the National Speleological Society. If you get membership in there, that gets you full membership in this grotto. And to sum it up, basically it gives you a vote at elections. You can also run for office. And let me think here. The NSS is our parent organization, so to speak. Okay, and so since we've had new cavers in the meeting tonight, I get to go over the Cavers Code. So I'm going to try and share a screen so you can see what I'm reading from. You all see Cavers Code on the screen?
Yep.
Okay, Cavers Code. Can you keep a secret? We pride ourselves on being on the down low. Cavers don't broadcast these special places on social media in order to protect them. Caves are special, and if you want to know more about caves, you'll find us, and so you did. Leave no trace, none, no tobacco in caves, no trash, no poop or pee, leave only careful footprints. If that means keeping your trip small and willing to do something else if the cave you're at is crowded. The reason for that is too many people in a cave, it's too easy to damage formations. That's the short answer. Most southeastern caves are on someone's private land. Many are closed. More will get closed if we aren't on our best behavior. So always get permission and don't trespass. Don't yell. Don't cuss too loud. Don't get naked where you can be seen. Park out of the way and don't block roads or gates. Cavers do right, and it's important that we live up to that. And that is how we go caving. Okay. Officers, is there anything else that needs to be brought up?
No, nothing that I can think of. I just wanted to say thank you to Andy Zellner for the wonderful presentation. Really appreciate it. Seems like Peru is an incredible place. And welcome to all the new members.
I second that.
Very good. Thanks again, Andy. Okay, so at this point, the chair motions to adjourn.
Second.
There, going once, going twice, hearing no objections. Okay, Juliana, please note meeting adjourned at 8:19 p.m. Thanks, everyone.
Alrighty. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Welcome, new members.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Good to see everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Dane, you never sent me the map.
I didn't get a chance to.
Hold
Oh,
on,
you didn't get-
hold on, just a second.
Okay.
Ray, so what's gonna happen next is that at the next EC meeting, we're gonna go over all the new members. And that's just in, I think it's a couple of weeks or so. And go through that list and make people either associate or full depending on their NSS membership. For that matter, if something comes up sooner than that, and you reach out to us to say, hey, paid my dues, I came to the meeting, introduced myself, and I want in on this trip, you're probably going to get in on it. We'll go ahead and do that for you.
Yeah, I was interested into that, learn vertical climb kind of a trip that you guys were hosting.
Okay, so let me go over that for you real fast. The idea there is, so the grotto keeps 4 sets of vertical equipment for training students who don't have any of their own equipment. Unfortunately, those slots are all filled up for this class.
Okay.
What you need to do is reach out to Darren Dopp. We can help you out with that contact information if you're having trouble getting it. And so what'll happen is he'll either set you up with something, or he'll tell us, for example, that you get to be in on the next class, and then I make that happen. And that's how that works out.
All right. Thanks, Joe. And I'll let you guys talk. Thanks. Good evening.
Thank you, Ray.
Hey, Joe.
Yes, sir.
I noticed I was going through the Dogwood City Grotto stuff, and people like Emily, whatever her name was, her membership is currently new member, which we don't do that anymore. Did you change it to new member or what?
No, I don't change it to new member. I don't know what's happening there. I don't know if that was, it's hard for me to believe that that's a previous action. So I don't know if there's some kind of a timeout involved where if somebody sticks around in the system as a pending applicant for too long, they simply get pulled in as a new member. In other words, this is I don't understand what's happening yet.
Okay. I'm gonna try to look into it some more, but it's definitely really weird to see all these new members on the system,
It should, doesn't it always say who has
51 new members?
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is if you click on any one of those new members, it should tell you who it was that approved their application.
Yeah, but I don't see any of those notes.
They're not there?
Well, okay, I just chose one. Application paid, requires approval. It says create on. Yeah, I don't see it. Because I know you're talking about, but I don't see the notes.
I've thought the system made those notes automatically. Okay, so I wonder if there's a human factor involved. I wonder if it's Brad. I'll follow up with him and ask.
Yeah, that won't work.
Yeah,
Okay.
'cause that just puts them in that limbo state because they're not associate, they're not full, you know, they've paid their money. They're not really.
Yeah. And if we don't put the mark right on the trip, then they can join into members only trips. So
no, not necessarily.
If we don't get rid of new member, because you can exclude that, right? But we forgot to do that a couple of times.
That's one place where we definitely need to practice due diligence when making members only trips. Is they are not for new members, only associate and full, and there's 4 classifications there.
Okay, Dane, did you send me the map? Oh, he's gone. Oh, wait. Oh.
Okay, so I'm gonna send it to you.
Okay.
Do you have the latest Adobe?
Oh, I got open on Adobe? No, I don't have Adobe.
Alex, I need to make a report to you.
Okay.
You'll remember that I told you that I had a goal of doing fantastic this year.
Yeah, you don't think it's gonna happen?
I can barely cave at all. Howard's waterfall is enough to kick my ass. This cervical stenosis is, oh God, it's been a meteor strike. I'm trying to get back in the game, but it could be years. I don't know.
Keep doing things, Joe. If you keep keep running and walking and being active, and don't let yourself just get worse.
You think the same way that I do. I go running, I do my burpees, I go into Howard's like an idiot because I gotta, man. I was there and it was there and I just had to. It was a hole, damn it.
Yeah.
But I may go to the vertical training 25th and 26th and just show up because I'm the chair and I can do that.
Yeah, I mean, make clear with Darren, but yeah, you should go and you can keep an eye on people, right?
Here's the funny thing. Anytime I ask Darren, gee, man, do you mind if I show up? He literally says to me, why do you keep asking me that? Of course you can come.
Oh, boy.
So that way I can get onto a 20-foot rope and see if I can go up and down a rope without having, a cervical conniption fit. Oh, well.
Yeah, and they can lower you and help you out. You got the rescue team there.
Can't get into that much trouble, not under those circumstances.
No.
All right, I'm about to make you the host.
Okay, we won't be on here much longer.
Well, I don't really care. Alex, party.
That's fine. I can be the host. I'm a good host. Very trustworthy. I'm gonna kick you out real quick.
Me at a shit, bro.